we are starting. Welcome to Chase Stories Chats, everybody. I am here today with my friend Kyana Powers. Welcome, Kyana. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great, thanks. I'm sitting lakeside, so life is
Casual
really good
lakeside.
right now.
Casual lakeside views.
Casual lakeside. I could show you, but whatever.
We'll
It's
save
like
it.
behind the computer.
Yeah. Well, to start off, I've been doing it for the last couple ones. We're gonna start off with a quick cheers. I've got my water because
Water. Should I
we
have
don't
water?
do it with both. Double fist it. Cheers. Thank you for being on. Kyana and I know each other through a mentorship group, a photography mentorship group that we both joined along with like 15 to 20 other people that essentially, our goal one day is to hopefully make a living off of photography and doing stuff like that. And that's how we met. And Kyana has a super cool story that I'm hoping that she can share with all of us today.
Yeah, it's an okay story, I think.
Most people, just to give you some spoilers, most people do not drop everything and move to Iceland.
Yeah, so I learned that. I thought that what I was doing was like easy. I'm like, anyone can do this. So originally I'm from Boston and I had like a 9 to 5 job in Boston. I worked in college athletics and I had visited Iceland one time, like 2 years ago now, almost. And I just totally fell in love with the landscapes. Everything was so dramatic. Like everything that you hear about Iceland and how awesome it is so
Yeah.
true. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I was just like so happy there and just like needed to get more of it. And I went back to my job in Boston and I wasn't really happy at my job. I think I majored at this college athletics, but I really enjoyed sports growing up. But it just didn't like resonate with me anymore. It was kind of my dream to like climb the college athletic ladder. But after Iceland, I was just hooked on like adventure
Yeah.
and just traveling and stuff. And I wasn't even into photography then. I didn't own a camera actually at all. That first trip that I took, I just had an iPhone. So all my first photos from there are like incredible, but they're literally all just from my phone.
That's all you need.
And it really is. People say that the best phone that you have is your camera, and however cliche that sounds, or like the one that you have on you,
Yeah.
however cliche that sounds, it's so true. But yeah, and so I just like had this burning to go back to Iceland, and that just kept growing in me. And I would, look up things about Iceland and see all of this amazing photography. And so I think that kind of got me into photography. So I picked up a camera and just went from there. Like, I don't know. I love it. I love capturing adventures and moments and just like outdoor like lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
It's super fun. And one day, long story short, there was some drama at work, and I just one day was like, I'm quitting. I'm leaving. This is my like 2-week notice. And my boss was like, what? What are you gonna do? Did you like get a new job? Like it was totally out of the blue for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm moving to Iceland. And they were like, what? And I was like, well, I guess I have to do it now because I just said that out loud. Yeah, so I gave my notice. It was like in the summer, and then I like sold everything that I owned just to get as much money as possible. And at the end of the summer, I like bought a one-way ticket to Iceland and thought I would just figure it out when I was there because everything that I was reading about it seemed so hard. It's hard to get a job as a U.S. citizen in like the EU, and hard to literally do anything, to rent an apartment, like get a car, like that's not a rental, like if I leased a car or something. And to get a job, you need all of these like sponsorship things and visas, and they just make it really hard for a US citizen. So I figured, well, if I get to Iceland, it'll be much easier. Like if I just go and beg for a job, like they'll give it to me. And that was absolutely not the case. It was still, yeah, it's employers don't want to have to sponsor you because they have to explain to the government in like a lot of depth why they need you and like why they couldn't find an Icelandic or an EU citizen to do the same job. So that was super hard for me, and I struggled through a lot, and I still don't have a job, but and I'm also currently not in Iceland. Obviously, it's like summer where I am, but I'm only not there because of this COVID situation right now. I was there when it all hit and had to like panic return home because I didn't know what was going on in the world. But I will be returning in August as a student on a student visa.
Awesome.
That's my workaround for now.
Yeah, and then you'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. So obviously, your employer and all your coworkers are probably like, "What? You're moving to Iceland?" You said that. How did your family feel about that?
So my love for Iceland wasn't like new. Like I just couldn't stop talking about it for months.
Yeah.
So when I told my family that I was gonna go to Iceland, they were like, "Oh, okay, well, how are you gonna do health insurance? How are you gonna afford anything? How are you gonna get around? How are you gonna like communicate there?" And they just didn't have, a lot of knowledge about Iceland. Like everyone there speaks English. It's like very easy to travel to as a foreigner, if you speak English. And they for a long time just kind of thought it was like a phase, that I was like going through this phase where I would like travel around and then I would come back to my office job. And I was like, no, I'm going. Like I want to live there. Like I don't know if I want to live there forever, but I want to live there like long term. I don't know how long, a couple of years maybe. But yeah, I have no intentions on coming back to my old life. Like I sold everything. Like there's a point to this. I tried to like make it real, and it took a long time for them to like really come to terms with that. And I feel like maybe my siblings maybe felt some abandonment, that I was just like leaving them. And Iceland's not that far away from Boston. Like it's just a 4-hour flight. Like it's not like I even lived with my family and I was like moving out. Like I lived by myself for 5 years. Like it was like almost no different. Like our relationship, it's not like I saw them all the time anyway. But yeah, there was a lot of tears and a lot of, questions from them. But now they're very supportive, and I'm excited to get them out to Iceland so that I can show them why I love it so much. And I think maybe if they saw it, they would understand.
Yeah, totally.
Why.
Yeah. When you initially, made that first step and sold everything and were like, we're going, we're all in, we're over here, what were some feelings that you had? Did you, what were something that kind of welled up inside you? I'm sure there's a lot of emotions.
Yeah. So there was a lot of just frustration at my work, which kind of just grew inside me, which caused me to like irrationally quit on the spot. But maybe there was a better way to go about that. But I was just in mentally a place where my feelings are just raw and like on my sleeve. So I was like, I have to go. But then once I like did that and I spoke that out loud, it was just a lot of excitement. I think I was, a lot of my close friends were excited for me, and they were like, this is definitely what you need to do. Like this has you all over it. And you love Iceland. Like this is so perfect. You have to do this. You're such a free spirit type thing. And I was really nervous. Like I didn't know how I would be able to like get health insurance without a job, because I like just pretend to be a grown up, and since I have like an employer, then they give you health insurance, but I don't know what you're supposed to do after that. And now I have like no income. So I'm like, oh, I can't afford anything. But once I started to like piece things together, like where I would live and what I would do when I was there, and just kind of doing some research about the country, like more research about adventures I would go on and hikes and stuff, I got like really excited. There was a lot of nerves because I was leaving the life I knew, but I was excited to go to Iceland. I don't know.
So was it worth it?
Yes, I definitely wouldn't have gone back during this quarantine time though, since I was just stuck at home or like not even home, like just like my parents' house. Like, so I came back, couldn't go back to my other apartment because they sold it. And I was like just living with my parents, which I hadn't done since high school, and which was like 10 years ago. And I no longer had a job here. So I was just sitting unemployed while everyone was working from home. And I was like thinking to myself, because I was just going through like a bad place mentally, but I was like, would it have been worth it to just keep working for a couple more months, and then you could make money and you're working from home, so it wouldn't really be that bad, and then you could go to Iceland. But no, I don't regret at all being there for the past like 6 to 8 months.
It's always, you always have like hindsight, oh man, I should have done this. But I think at the end of the day, you are, you pulled the trigger, which a lot of people can't do. And you're doing or you did something that you wanted to do, and that takes a lot of courage. So I definitely applaud you for that.
I'm definitely like an emotionally driven person over logic. Like I definitely think about like long-term things sometimes and stuff, and like am logically inclined as well, but my emotions definitely just take over, and I'm like, oh, I'm happy in Iceland, I gotta go to Iceland.
Is there, so obviously there are a lot of tourists, and especially tourism has grown over the last 10 years in Iceland, especially. So you get probably a lot of foreigners living there for 6 to 8 months. You probably as well have probably met a lot of people that are from Iceland. Has there been like a culture shock? Are they, okay with the tourism? Do they hate tourists? They're like, oh man, Americans, ugh. I feel like in Europe, I feel like they do not like Americans at all.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, they do not like Americans.
Yeah.
Get any of that?
Yeah, so I was really immersed into the Icelandic culture. I lived with an Icelandic family to like keep down costs. So I had, I did a work away with them, which is like a barter for food and accommodations. So I helped them out around the house and with the children and stuff getting to school, because it was just like a single mom. So I really was like immersed into the culture, like, sitting down at dinner and they would be speaking Icelandic, which I was like, what is happening? And then kind of getting to know the kids too that I lived with was cool to see how they're going to school and what their school life is like compared to how I went to school in the US. And there are a lot of tourists in like certain areas, like in the main like city area in Reykjavik, right in like downtown. There's lots of tourists, but they're not just Americans. There's Europeans, there's Asians, there's just a whole eclectic group of people. And I mean, there's still Icelandic people around there. They don't like hate tourists, I don't think, because they couldn't hate tourists. They're like a huge part of their economy. But I feel like just like in any city in the US, people, like when I lived in Boston, I hated to go like in the touristy places of downtown Boston, because it's just like, people stopping to take pictures and, they're just like kind of in your way. And I'm just like trying to, like run an errand or something. But no outward hatred or anything towards the tourists.
Good. So you've been there, and you were also a travel guide at one point. Or were you helping out? Wait, it was, or a glacier guide? Is that what it was?
Okay, so
please enlighten
me. I have to give a little bit of background info to get to that. So, to get hired in Iceland as a U.S. citizen, or even just a non-EU passport holder, you need an employer to sponsor you, and there's like, they can only sponsor you if you have a special skill. And they've already deemed what these special skills are. So they're like medical, computer science, and if you remember, I worked in sports, like those are not my wheelhouse. So that was out. Or the other one was specific to Iceland, glacier guiding, because it's a lot of training to be a glacier guide. So I was like, I'm going to have to go that route. Like after 3 months of straight just job rejection for jobs that I'm qualified for, but I just a U.S. citizen, I was like, well, got to train to be a glacier guide because it's the only way I'm going to
Oh
get a
my God.
job. So I did the training for that. I did all the medical certifications, which was intense, as well as like the basic hard ice 1 is what the first class is called. And it's like a 4 or 5 day super intensive thing, like 10 hours a day. We were working and just on the ice and learning how to rescue people and walk on the ice and learning how the ice moves and how to read the weather and pack to be prepared and everything. It was a lot of work. But yeah, so I'm like a certified glacier guide now. And
Wow.
I wasn't able to get a job immediately after that because it was like the off season. It was still winter time, and there was just less tourists around. But I was like promised a job for the summertime, but then Corona happened.
Yeah, that's Corona.
So yeah, and but I do have like a bunch of friends who are they like run their own company, glacier guiding or whatever. So I actually with when I was visiting one time in March, they needed an extra guide, and you know I have all the qualifications, so I just stepped in and helped with that. That was fun, and yeah, hopefully in the future I'll be able to get back onto the glacier and help people, you know, experience that in Iceland. But for now, I don't have that.
Well, I hope that it can happen soon. Hopefully things get better soon enough. That's so cool though. I've always wanted to go on a glacier, and the colors on glaciers are insane. It has that really, really cool colored blue. I don't know how to describe it, what the actual color name would be, but if you haven't seen it, you should totally check it out because it's incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
and in the winter time, it's more blue than it is in the summertime because it's colder. So like in the summertime, the top layer of the glaciers get like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like crumbly ice. And so it's like very white because it's not as frozen. It's like crushed ice on top. It's like a layer of crushed ice on top of the glacier. And the blues really come out more in the winter, but they're still incredible in the summer as well.
Yeah, think Glacier Blue Gatorade. Please sponsor.
Yeah.
Please sponsor this. Thank you. So you've seen quite a bit of Iceland. I would like to know, because I've never been, and I would really love to, but I'm not a big fan of going to the touristy areas. Obviously, there are reasons why they're touristy because you know there are incredible things, but I prefer to go places where there are less people because I want to take pictures without people in them. So could you give me we'll start off with 2, but if you've got more, some sort of hidden gems, if you don't have to give all of them, but maybe 1 or 2 spots that would be like, hey, you should check this out. It's sort of, you know, out of the way.
Yes. Okay. So I will say that the touristy spots are iconic. Like they really are. Like they're the super busy spots for a reason, and it's incredible to witness. So if you have to wake up extra early or stay extra late or something to get know people, then I mean it's totally worth it. Like Skogafoss is like that iconic massive waterfall, and it's not something you should not go to because it's full of tourists. You should 100% go to it. I don't care if there's tourists there. You need to go visit it. It is super incredible. But yeah, let's see some like lesser known locations. There is so Skogafoss, as I just mentioned, is like super iconic, large like waterfall, and then right next to it is a waterfall called Kvrinnefoss, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's how it's spelled. And it's you have to drive like 1 minute from the car park of Skogafoss to this other one, and I've never seen more than like 2 other people there when I've been, so it's really cool. And so if you just drive from Skogafoss parking lot to there's a Skogafoss or like a Skoga museum, like in kind of that same area. then you just park at the end of the museum and you follow a path. Like there's nothing marked, there's no signs. Like you wouldn't really know if there's going to be a waterfall, but you just follow this like path, and it's maybe 10 minutes long, and it leads you right into a canyon. And I think that's like such a dope waterfall, and you can walk behind it as well, which is really, really cool. So it's right next to Soga Falls, I think it's called Vernufoss. So check that one out.
Yeah.
And then I also recommend getting into the Highlands, and on the way to the Highlands, there's a waterfall called Hyfoss, and there's never too many tourists there. Like there are people there, but buses don't go there, so it's not filled with people, and it's so big that people aren't in your shots or anything. Like you definitely can escape them, and there really aren't a lot of people there. I've been there a few times, and there's never been more than 5 or 10 that I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's another really big one, and you can like walk down to the bottom of it. It's very cool. And then so that's on your way to the Highlands. Then I recommend just getting into the Highlands. It's such like volcanic Mars moon type landscapes, and you never really see people out there either, because it's just so vast. Those are 3 spots that I think are
perfect. I'm gonna write those down, or try to remember them. I'm gonna go back in this video to make sure I remember them.
Yeah.
And along the way, do you take your Icelandic hot dogs?
Yeah. Okay. So such a good snack are the Icelandic hot dogs. This is like not a thing that's overrated. Like, you may hear about them all over the internet, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, the hot dogs. No, get a hot dog. Get all the toppings on it.
They're totally worth it, I guess.
Yeah, they are. They're everywhere. And so I actually worked at a hot dog shop, so I know a lot about them. And
oh, really? Please tell. Give us the trade secrets.
There's so you can get hot dogs really anywhere, like at gas stations, at any like shop. Sometimes the supermarkets have like little stands where you can just get that. They're good. And they're everywhere. But I one time went into like a hot dog shop in Reykjavik, and it was super busy inside, because it's like one of the only ones where you could like go inside and like sit down. It's like really is a shop. It's not just a stand. So people go there because they can, get out from the cold through the wind or whatever. And it was so busy. I was bringing a friend there because I'm like, oh, you gotta try a hot dog. They're really good. So I brought her in, and it was so busy, and there was only one person working. So I asked the guy, if he needed help, and I was looking for a job. And he was like, oh yeah, actually I am the owner and I could use a lot of help. So we exchanged contact information, and yeah, I worked there a lot under the table. So it wasn't like a legal thing, but I get in trouble, or he doesn't get in trouble for that. But
yeah, we're going to cut this out, so nothing happens to you.
Yeah. So I would just serve hot dogs. Anyway, so they're made out of lamb. So they're mostly lamb meat, and there's like a little bit of beef and a little bit of pork, and then like some potato mixture, but it's mostly lamb, so that's why it tastes good. Unlike the American hot dog, I always told customers, like if they seemed a little on the fence, I'd be like, listen, I'm from the US, obviously, and I would never recommend you to try a hot dog in the US, but I definitely recommend to try this one. So it's good, I promise.
Oh man, I love ballpark.
Yeah. No, you okay. But yeah, so there's like a bun, and you toast the bun, and then to have it with all the toppings, there's like crispy onions and fresh onions, like all chopped up, and those go. So you hold the bun, and then you put the onions on the bun, so it goes underneath the hot dog. And then there's like a remoulade sauce, which is kind of like a creamy mayo type thing. It's not made of mayonnaise per se, but it's like the most similar sauce. And then there's a ketchup, which is standard, and then you put the hot dog on, so all of your toppings are underneath the hot dog. It actually keeps it very clean. Genius. The Icelandic people are genius. And then on the top there's just like a little drizzle of brown mustard, which is also delicious, like a sweet sauce. I don't like yellow mustard, but I would recommend to have this, and it's very good. And that's like the whole spiel I give people all the time.
You went into full detail. I love that. Now I'll probably just be eating Icelandic hot dogs the entire time I go.
They're so good.
My main meal. So before, because I really wanted to talk about Instagram, since you and I are both trying to build up our Instagrams and, create that into something that could eventually, hopefully, bring in an income. I wanted to ask you about, if you could give somebody a tip visiting Iceland for the first time, what would it be?
For like photo wise, you mean?
Or whatever.
I would say to go in with an open mind, and be flexible, and to rent a car and don't go on the big group tours. I mean, they're, I guess, good for information, but it's no other information that you couldn't get online. And you give yourself so much more freedom if you have your own car. And yeah, like roads close if it's dangerous, but it's not like you can't like just drive and then it will be really bad. Like they shut down and there's notice, and you won't get stuck out there stranded or anything. And it really is just such an incredible place. Like it's not just these like one spots that you just drive from one spot to the next stop. It's like you're just driving and you're like, oh my god, pull over, it's so cool. Like what is that? And I think that's kind of what makes like driving around Iceland so incredible, is it's just great, and it's just such a different experience. And like a tour bus window, and you can clean your windows or open them if it's a little foggy or something. But you can just go on your own time. So I always highly recommend to people to get their own car or a camper van or something, just for the freedom of it, because you can see and experience so much in Iceland. And pack well, like bring waterproof clothing, pants, shoes, and a jacket, because the weather is dicey sometimes. It's, if you don't want to let that like deter you from going to explore an area, like that's just, the weather is what it is. You're probably never coming back to Iceland, most likely. So get out there and experience, the nature and stuff. It's like, if you're going to Iceland, go with an open mind. If you're kind of a reserved person, but you should just go somewhere else.
Yeah, you got to go all in, and there's so much to do. I feel like there's so much, besides the big touristy stuff as well.
Yeah, and there's like big touristy spots that I've never even been to. So like the Blue Lagoon is something that people always want to go to at Iceland. They're so excited, and I've never been. And I'm okay. Like I still think that Iceland is an actually amazing place, and I've never been to the Blue Lagoon. And I think that there's also like this like kind of circle road called the Golden Circle, and it has a lot of cool things on it, but I've never done it. People say to like go and like do the Golden Circle, and it's because it's like so close to the city, but honestly I've never done like the true Golden Circle like experience. I've done like parts of it, and I'm like, it's not that I wasn't impressed, but I'm so impressed by so many other things in the country that the Golden Circle is just like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's nice, but
Those are good.
But where are the volcanoes?
Too many options. Too many great.
I know.
Options.
They are. There's too many just fantastic things there. That's such a great place.
Yeah, I'm excited to go one day. I'm gonna have to figure out when, but it's gonna happen. It's been on my bucket list for years.
Make it happen.
The Hornstandir Nature Preserve in the West Fjords has been. I saw a photo by photographer Chris Burkhardt of him and a bunch of other people trekking on like the edge of the cliff, and I'm like, I need to do that. I need to do that. At least
Chris is a legend.
He is. Oh my! I met him too. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, that's a really hard place to get to. Like you have to like get there by ferry, and that's only like 2 or 3 months of the year that you could go, and then you have to have a trained guide. You can't just like go by yourself and like go around whatever. And I heard, this could be like a rumor that I'm just starting, but some close friends of mine who are locals in Iceland said that every once in a while in Hornstandir in that area there's like a polar bear, because so there's no polar bears in Iceland, like that. They're not like an indigenous creature there. They're from Greenland, and they floated from icebergs all the way from Greenland to the West Fjords. It's wild to me. I don't know if I 100% believe it, but I have heard of these like tales.
Oh my gosh, that'd be terrifying. Polar bears, they may seem cute and cuddly, but they are very, very aggressive and dangerous.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that whenever they go hiking there, he brings a gun just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I don't know if I can go there. I'm scared.
Man, I just thought there were Arctic foxes. Now I'm having
I know.
Well, all right, let's move on because I feel like, at least for me, over the last couple of years, Instagram has been a big part of what I do. It's super fun to post and kind of share your experiences, as well as being able to connect with other people. I think that's one of the greatest things about Instagram. But one of the big things as well is, especially if you're, if depending on what sort of genre you follow, I feel, at least for me personally, it feels very saturated. Like you're seeing a lot of the same things, a lot of people doing the same pictures with the same captions. The mountains are calling, I must go, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And I just wanted to ask you, because I love your page and you have such cool pictures.
Thank you.
How do you, try and stick out? Do you feel like, how do you, capture people's attention? And how do you stay authentic? Because I think at the end of the day, you don't want to do the same posts and captions as everybody else.
No, and that is one of the challenges in Iceland, is that it forces you to be creative because it's such an Instagrammable country. Every spot in it you've seen on Instagram, which is, I'm grateful for that, because that's how I discover places too. Like I'll see a photo of it on Instagram, and then from there I like deep dive into where that is, right? And you go there and you want to take like the iconic shot, but then you want to see how creative you can get finding new angles or whatever. And I think just like trying to get like more off the grid in Iceland, going to the less touristy places, finding new canyons or waterfalls I don't even know, is how you can, kind of stay unique, at least in like the Iceland sphere, or just going for like adventures or different hikes or something. I feel like there's always like different angles you can get. You just have to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
Like, there's Skogafoss, as I mentioned before. I could talk about it all day, but there's the iconic shot. But I feel like there are also so many unique images you could get from that too. And they definitely don't seem obvious. When you're there, you're like, oh, that's the shot. And you're just so tunnel vision, because you've seen that one picture and that's what you want. But yeah, so I don't know, I guess just like trying to get off grid and going to new locations, and then working with the caption, I think helps you to be authentic, just giving it your own voice and telling your own story, because 15 people may have seen this location on Instagram, but the story of how you got there is unique and different from other people's, and maybe how you discovered it or whatever. So I think that really utilizing the captions just brings kind of like a voice to your profile and kind of a face to your name and stuff. And I think it's a super great place to meet people. I think all of my friends in Iceland are my friends because I met them on Instagram. And like first, we met on Instagram first, and then we met in real life. I don't just have like all these digital friends, but one time someone thought that I did. Like someone on Instagram asked how I made friends, and I was like, oh, I made friends on Instagram. And she responded like, well, I make friends in real life. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't hang out with anybody. I just talk to them through the phone.
Yeah.
Other than that,
So yeah, I'm super thankful for Instagram, no matter how saturated it is. And it's catered to you, and you can cater it yourself. So as you were saying, maybe you have everybody that's putting up the same type of photos, and if that puts you in a negative mindset, or just like a too wishful of a mindset or something, and it gets you down because you're like not going to those places or whatever, then unfollow or mute that account, or whatever you need to do to make you happy. No one sees your Instagram feed but you, so make it something you enjoy.
Oh my gosh, that's such great advice. And social media, just obviously it's so huge now, and it can really, really affect your mindset. Depending on what you're seeing, you can get FOMO, or you start comparing yourself to a lot of other people. And I think what you just said is so true. Like, it's so simple. You could easily just like unfollow or block whatever you have to do to help keep you in a positive, or a positive mindset, something to help you out, because at the end of the day it's catered to you, like you said.
Yeah, you're totally in control of it. If you need if you're a big adventure person, but you don't have a lot of money or a lot of time off or something to go to these places, and that kind of gets you down, throw in some dog accounts, some puppy accounts, maybe some quote accounts, I don't know, food accounts, to bring you back, to like level you out, whatever makes you happy. I mean, come on, the amount of like food accounts I follow is dumb. So
I love food accounts, not gonna lie. I wouldn't say I'm a foodie, but I love to eat. So
I know, right? I have a whole folder in my saved section of like recipes that I will literally never make, but I want them.
Yeah, same. Because I know that it will never be as good, and I'll just be disappointed in myself doing it.
I know. I'm not good at cooking or following a recipe. I know it's supposed to be easy. It doesn't work. I don't know. Something goes wrong every time.
It's the same. It's like when you give your grandparents make something, and they give you the recipe, and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna make it. It's be awesome, and never as good. Ever.
It's never the right way.
No, seriously. I wanted to talk about, because you're doing something really cool on your current Instagram page, which is, can you throw a plug real quick? What's your Instagram page?
Yeah, so my handle is just my name. It's just Kyana Sue. Sue is my middle name. Powers is my last name. Sometimes people don't understand what's happening there. But so it's just at Kyana Sue. And right now I'm doing a little Instagram live series called Iceland 15 by 15, because they were opening their borders June 15th to all tourists. But as a side note, they actually didn't let any North Americans in, and they announced that June 13th. So it was anyway. So the whole idea was Iceland 15 by 15. We're going to have 15 people to talk about Iceland for 15 minutes to get people excited to travel to Iceland on June 15th or after June 15th. So I was really just playing with the 15 things, and I don't know if anyone else is inspired to go to Iceland, but it makes me really excited. And they're all live chats, but I learned after the very first one that you can post it to IGTV after. I guess live chats no longer can live on your story for 24 hours. Your options are to delete it or to post to IGTV. So I learned on the very first day. So yeah, they're all on my account, and we talked to some really awesome people. I've got locals on there who love Iceland, expats who have moved from various places to Iceland because they loved it so much, and just other like Iceland fans who love Iceland and go all the time.
Yeah. No, I've been tuning in and listening. I haven't been able to catch the lives, but I do go onto the IGTV, and it's super fun to hear. And like you said, it gets me excited to want to go to.
Good.
I've been really enjoying it, and I think it was super cool that you did that. Sort of like create this buzz and hype to be able to go.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really fun for sure. It's a lot of energy to bring every single day to do a live, but we're almost there. We're almost to the end.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try and post this sometime soon so that people can go in and check those out too.
Yeah, they'll live there forever on the TV portion of the page, and then on Monday I think that will be the last day of it, and there'll be a surprise announcement then if the cases comes out during next week at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So right now, you are in the US, hoping to go to in August. You're planning to go. Do you have like any goals or things that you would like to do once you're there? Obviously, find a job. Probably important. But whether it's photography wise as well, building up a brand, whatever it is. Do you have anything in the horizon that you're trying to work on? I know that we are both in the same mentorship group as well. And I wanted to ask after that too, how that's going for you.
Yeah. So I've also been a part of, some like group coaching that's been super helpful as well. just trying to like build my brand and figure out like what direction I want to go in. So some very like basic logistical goals that I have for the nearish future are to narrow down on an apartment in Iceland. So now that I'm gonna have a student visa, I can finally like rent a place. So I have like a couple options right now, and I will pick hopefully by the end of this weekend. It's Friday now, whenever this gets posted. Yeah. So I'll pick an apartment, and I guess one of my goals is to be a decent student. So I, have a degree and I don't need, to go back to school. I don't need to like learn anything, but well, at least, I mean, I could always learn something, but I don't want to go to school. But it is, my ticket in with a student visa. So that's kind of the only reason I'm going. And I will be studying Icelandic as a second language. So that will actually be super helpful, I think, and it's kind of eye-opening to the culture and language. So I am excited for that, but I just hope that I will be an okay student. And I chose to live like near the university because I know that if it was like a hassle for me to get there, if I have to get on a bus to go to class, like I'm not going. I had to make it as convenient as possible so that I would actually go to class. I don't want to get kicked out of school, but I'm also not really there to get like an A+ in any course. So those are my logistical goals.
Yeah.
And then just some other like goals that I kind of have, projects working for the future, is to just kind of build my brand and hopefully, be able to open my own business in Iceland, because that's kind of another loophole to living in Iceland. If I start a business there, then I can sponsor myself, which is like super loophole-y, but it works. Yeah, so hopefully maybe I can, just kind of a small company, either leading group trips to Iceland, or in Iceland, sorry. So I'll be living there and, planning group trips for people to come out and explore with me. If people like to do that. Yeah, so that would be really fun. And then also maybe to like help plan people's trips, because I do that now too. A lot of people reach out to me on Instagram asking a whole bunch of questions about their trip, what they should pack, where they should go, etc. And some people have even like asked if they could jump on a call with me and just pick my brain. And I'm like, okay, this is something like, let's make this into a business. So those are very future goals, but hopefully one day.
Yeah, and I think you're on the right path right now. I can see it.
Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
And I will be joining these group trips at one point, or at least hitting you up to show me around.
Don't even come on a group trip. Just come visit, and like, as I said, I don't care about going to class. Like, I'll take you out. I love exploring.
Terrible student. Gosh.
I know, we're off to a bad start already.
Well, hey, Kyana, why don't you throw down some of your links where people can find you if they wanted to reach out to you. So, hopefully when that business does start happening, they can reach out to you too.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. Get inspired by what I'm posting. I'm always posting some cool adventures, or at least just locations in Iceland. And so drop me a message there, or you can email me from my website. The link of that is in my Instagram bio. It's also just KyanaSuePowers.com, and that, like, I have a photography portfolio, as well as some Iceland blogs and like a packing list, things like that, to help you plan for Iceland. So yeah, that's what I have right now. And definitely check out my IGTV series, and tell me if you enjoy it.
Yeah, throw down a comment. For the engagement. Yeah. For the engagement.
I found that I love doing these lives, but I don't understand IGTV. Like, the discoverability is like so different from a regular post. I just am kind of excited for them to be over so I can go back to regular posting.
Yeah.
I kind of want to start a podcast. They're fun. I'm like, maybe we'll just move this to a different platform or something.
Hey, that's honestly a great idea. It could happen. I think that'd be fun to listen to.
It's like brewing right now in my mind. So just let that simmer and in a year from now.
Nobody steal that idea. Well, hey, Kyana, thank you so much for your time. It was super fun talking to you. We'll definitely have to do it again. We'll go more in depth into Instagram and the nuances and how it sucks and it's also great.
Yeah, a lot of good things, a lot of annoying, confusing things, but I'm glad that it exists and we met on it. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, there things do happen. Yeah, thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into Chase Stories Chats. If you enjoyed and want to find more, follow along at Chase Stories on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and let me know what you thought of the chat. And if you'd like to be involved, please reach out through chasestories.com.